Welcome to the third module of the International Society of Sport Nutrition Sport Nutrition Specialist Certification course. Your guide for this module is Dr. Robert Wildman. Dr. Wildman has a PhD from The Ohio State University. He's a registered and licensed dietitian and certified ISSN. He is the author of 4 books, including Sport and Fitness Nutrition, Advanced Human Nutrition, and The Nutritionist, Food, Nutrition, and Optimal Health. He is the creator of thenutritiondoctor.com, Chief Science Officer for Time Performance, founder of the International Protein Board, Chair of the American Herbal Products Association Sport Nutrition Committee, and he is a worldwide authority and speaker. Let's begin. Module 3 is all about lipids. We're going to open with a discussion of lipids and the principal lipids in the human body as well as food, fats, and cholesterol. We'll look at food labels to see how these macronutrients are labeled. Then we'll go into detail of digestion and absorption of lipids, talk about the structural anatomy of triglycerides or fats, and focus more on the fatty acids. Talk about 2 dietary essential fatty acids, and then go into detail of EPA and DHA, which are found in the oils of fish and other marine life. Shifting our attention to cholesterol after that, and talk about lipoproteins. Lastly, we'll finish up with a discussion of adipose tissue and how the body stores fat. The predominant lipids in the human body will be triglycerides or fat and cholesterol. One of the most outstanding characteristics of lipids is that they do not dissolve into water. So we need to accommodate lipids during digestion as well as once they're inside the body. Human body fat content is the most variable of the major body composition components or body macros. Fat is energy dense. 9 calories can be stored in every gram of fat, making it the ideal macronutrient to store excess energy. Fat also provides cushioning around our organs for protection. Plus, certain fatty acids are precursors for regulatory molecules called eicosanoids. Now let's talk about the information related to fats and cholesterol that you would find on the Nutrition Facts panel. Mandatory declarations on the Nutrition Facts panel include total fat, saturated fat, trans fat, and total cholesterol. In addition, there are some optional listings for Nutrition Facts panel, including monounsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fat. In addition, omega-3 fatty acid levels can be stated elsewhere on the label in a different type of claim. The digestion and absorption of fat as well as cholesterol is a little complex. That's because digestive juices are water-based and lipids do not dissolve well into water. However, the normal digestion and absorption of fat is greater than 90% as well as cholesterol. One of the principal reasons for this efficiency is bile. Bile is a detergent which greatly enhances fat digestion and absorption. Fat tends to clump together in the stomach, and when the stomach squeezes contents into the small intestine, fat is broken up into small droplets, which are then coated by bile. As bile coats lipids, it allows for digestive enzymes and other factors to enhance digestion as well as the absorption. Bile is a special compound that's made in the liver and stored in the gallbladder during non-digestive times. It flows to the small intestine during digestion as the gallbladder squeezes and its contents move into the small intestine. Now let's go into detail about the types of lipids that are found in food, and we'll focus on fat first, the most abundant of the lipid in our diet. Often, fats and oils are common terms used to describe fat in general or triglycerides. Fat being more solid at room temperature and oils being more liquid at room temperature. However, they are really 2 of the same thing in general, large collections of triglycerides. A triglyceride molecule is a combination of 3 fatty acids linked to a glycerol molecule backbone. Glycerol is always glycerol. However, there can be tremendous variability to the fatty acid composition of a triglyceride molecule. Now let's look more closely at fatty acids. Fatty acids are chains of carbon bound to hydrogen, which have a carboxylic acid group on one end, and this is also the end that would attach to glycerol. This is considered the alpha end, or the beginning of the chain. Meanwhile, the omega end is at the far end. The last carbon is referred to as the omega carbon. The length of the chain can vary tremendously, all the way down to just 2 carbons, and as high as 26 carbons long or more. Saturated fatty acids contain only single bonds between the carbon atoms. This is shown in Figure A, a 16-carbon saturated fatty acid, which is the predominant fatty acid that you find in human body fat. Meanwhile, unsaturated fatty acids, which are depicted in B to D, contain 1 or more double bonds in the carbon chain. If there is 1 double bond, it is referred to as a monounsaturated fatty acid. If there are 2 or more double bonds, it is referred to as a polyunsaturated fatty acid, as shown in C and D. All fats contain a mixture of different fatty acid types, and the mixture or proportion of fatty acids will determine the properties as well as predict its physical state, whether it's more of a fat or an oil. Going a little deeper with fatty acids, saturated fatty acids tend to contribute more to solid fat forms. Unsaturated fatty acids tend to contribute more to liquid oil state. Trans fatty acids are unsaturated fatty acids, meaning they have double bonds. But the nature of the double bonds allows them to be more like saturated fats in predicting physical state, promoting more of a solid fat. Higher levels of trans fat consumption indicates a diet higher in processed and fried foods, which in turn is associated with increased risk of heart disease. Diets higher in certain saturated fats tend to be more associated with heart disease when combined with excessive energy and low physical activity. Of the numerous fatty acids found in nature, there are only 2 fatty acids that are deemed dietary essential, meaning they have to be part of the diet, otherwise deficiency signs and symptoms will develop over time. These are linoleic acid, which is an omega-6 polyunsaturated fatty acid, and alpha-linolenic acid, which is an omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acid. We can make other omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids from these 2 essential fatty acids. However, the degree of conversion varies. The RDAs for the 2 essential fatty acids are as follows. Linoleic acid is 12 grams per day for a young woman and 17 grams per day for a young man, and alpha-linolenic acid is 1.1 grams per day for a young woman and 1.6 grams per day for a young man. Beyond the 2 dietary essential fatty acids are EPA and DHA. EPA is eicosapentaenoic acid and DHA is docosahexaenoic acid, and these are found in the oils of fish as well as other marine life such as algae. EPA and DHA have beneficial roles, and they're supplemented primarily in the form of fish oil. One of the reasons for their popularity is these omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acids can be converted to eicosanoids, which help regulate blood pressure, inflammation, blood vessel dilation, and the actions of platelets. Now let's shift our attention to cholesterol. Cholesterol, unlike fat, is not an energy nutrient. One of the most important roles of cholesterol is that it serves as a base or a precursor to make numerous critical substances in the body such as cortisol, bile, testosterone, estrogens, as well as vitamin D. Cholesterol is found in cell membranes where it helps stabilize cell membranes. In the diet, cholesterol is only found in animal meats as well as dairy foods. Contrary to what has been thought for years, dietary cholesterol is not a strong driver of blood cholesterol levels. Keeping in mind that the blood is water-based, we have to have a way to get fat and cholesterol from one place to another inside of the body. We do this by way of lipoproteins, and lipoproteins transport fat and cholesterol in the blood. A lipoprotein, in essence, is a lipid core containing fat and cholesterol that is surrounded or coated with a protein-rich shell. The ratio of the protein to the lipid determines the density of the lipoprotein. Let's start off with chylomicrons. When you eat fat and cholesterol, it's absorbed, but it needs a transporter to get it from the digestive tract to its destinations within the body. These are called chylomicrons. As they circulate throughout the body, they will drop off a lot of the fat and some of the cholesterol, and they become smaller remnants of their former selves, and the chylomicron remnants are taken up by the liver. This entire process will take a few hours, depending on the size of the meal and how much fat and cholesterol is in the meal. Meanwhile, throughout the day, if you measured lipoproteins in the blood, you will find high-density lipoproteins, which contain a higher ratio of protein and less lipid and cholesterol than other lipoproteins. This is often referred to as good cholesterol. You'll also find very low-density lipoproteins and low-density lipoproteins, and these carry most of the cholesterol and fat in the bloodstream throughout the day. Very low-density lipoproteins are packaged up and released by the liver, so that it can deliver fat and cholesterol throughout the body. As very low-density lipoproteins circulate, they become smaller, and their density increases slightly. They become low-density lipoproteins. And low-density lipoproteins, or LDL, are the ones that we track most aggressively to assess heart disease risk. We'll close out this module with an overview of adipose tissue. Fat is stored within adipose tissue in the human body. Adipose tissue is synonymous with fat tissue. Adipose tissue is largely triglyceride or fat. Roughly 86% of the mass is fat. Small amounts of water, protein, and carbohydrate will make up the rest of the mass. In between meals and during exercise, fat is broken down inside adipocytes or adipose tissue cells, and fatty acids are released into the blood, and they are carried by a protein in the blood called albumin. Albumin carries the fatty acids to tissue throughout the body where it can be used as fuel. Fat stores are also found around our internal organs and provide some cushioning, while fat underneath the skin provides a layer of insulation that helps maintain body temperature. And that concludes Module 3 of the ISSN Sport Nutrition Specialist Certification course. Be sure to review the summary before moving on to Module 4.